Donald Trump is panicking as an additional release of 3 million Epstein file documents has been absolutely devastating for him and his regime. Even despite the cover-up efforts by Trump and his DOJ, it is still devastating. Let me tell you what's gone down, and I'm going to read for you some of the most devastating documents that have been released. So the Trump DOJ earlier today, through Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General, said that they were going to release 3 million documents from the Epstein files. They said they collected 6 million documents from the Epstein files, but we're only going to release about 50% of it because they said that was the only group that was actually relevant. Let's be clear, that's highly suspect, highly suspicious. We should not believe anything that they are saying, and we should demand all of the documents be produced. But from this 3 million documents that have been produced, there is very, very damaging stuff to Donald Trump and his cabinet and people like Howard Lutnick and Elon Musk, and even the new person Donald Trump's appointed as the chairman of the Federal Reserve, who's listed in these new documents, and others. We'll go through that. Also, you should note that these survivors are absolutely livid right now. Despite the Trump DOJ saying it took so long for us to release these 3 million documents so we could find the most relevant and responsive documents and protect the survivors and protect the victims. Well, a lot of the documents that were released gave personal identifying information of the survivors and gave other information of these survivors and victims. And so the lawyer for these survivors and survivors themselves are absolutely livid. They're pissed that and they're re-traumatized that their names have been outed again in ways that could be very harmful to them. And also you're hearing from these survivors that they are extremely not trusting anything that this Trump DOJ is doing right now. They believe that this is just more of the cover-up by the Trump DOJ. Donald Trump's name is mentioned many times in the new documents that were released. Let me make this point as well. There haven't been any photos or videos or audio that's been released. And there should be video, audio, photos that are released with, of course, appropriate redactions and appropriate protection of victim rights. So that doesn't even exist in this. And when we saw there was, the 18,000 files produced by the Epstein estate several months ago, lots of photos there as well with Trump in those photos. Okay, let's go through some of these emails that were produced in this batch. I've gone through all 3 million documents. And so that's what I've been doing all morning. Let me show you what is in these documents. And Trump's name is mentioned many times. So here's an email from Jeffrey Epstein to a lady by the name of Kathy Rumler. Kathy Rumler was a lawyer at a large corporate law firm. She almost served as like an advisor to Epstein during this period of time. This is an email from March 30th, 2016 from Epstein to his advisor, Kathy Rumler. And here's what is stated. Epstein says, again, March 30th, 2016, Trump is likely to be asked questions soon about me. In an ideal world, what do you think he should and could say? Then Epstein's advisor says the following. I knew Epstein professionally and always had positive dealings with him. I don't know anything about his personal legal issues other than what I have read in public reports, and therefore don't have any comment. So Epstein and his advisor are working on statements to give to Donald Trump to cover up his relationship with Epstein. And then Epstein says, supposedly a girl said that Donald had sex with her at my house when she was underage. She said she has a witness in 1993. Pottinger story 2 weeks ago said that Pottinger wanted to meet him. I emailed back, do not meet. You are not involved. Yesterday, said someone sent me. Pottinger worked his way into my office to tell me that. Very annoyed, I called and got his telling the above, that a girl in 1993 was saying that when she was underage, she said she was a witness. A girl said that Donald Trump had sex with her at my house when she was underage. Okay, that's in the documents. Underage girl saying sex with Donald Trump. Epstein is mentioning that right here in a March of 2016 email. Then you have this email right here from December 2017. You have this email right here, and it says the following. I'm okay. Still waiting for a New York trip. Taking the family to Dubai for the new year. I forgot to ask you, is there any new update about the Saudi project that I sent you? And then he's having a conversation here with a business partner. So Epstein and a business partner. And the business partner says, I'm at the door, but I will wait for my time. I don't want to come early to find Donald Trump at your house. Smiley face emoji. That's December 22nd, 2017. There's this email between Jeffrey Epstein and someone by the name of Nicholas Ribis. This is from March 22nd, 2011. Nick, the girl in the new papers that has made all this trouble said she worked at Mar-a-Lago when she was 15 in 1998. Virtually positive that is a lie. It was when she was 17 in 2000. Her name is redacted. Who would I go to verify? Don't know how Donald, referring to Donald Trump, would respond. Then there's this email, March 22nd, 2011. It's from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell right here. Here's the email. I thought you said not to involve Donald. Again, this is from Ghislaine to Jeffrey Epstein, rather. I thought you said not to involve Donald. Anyway, so now the die is cast. You now have to get her employment records. It will either show she started work in 1999 or 2000 as she was full-time there, and I believe you cannot be a minor and work full-time anywhere. So she had to be at least 16 to be in full-time employment. Perhaps start that way. That alone would kill her allegations that she was 15. As I said, you can't work full-time anywhere at that age. Either that or she gave a fake ID to Mar-a-Lago, which is also possible. However, let's see if you get the info, and please confirm the labor law. So Ghislaine telling Jeffrey, now the die is cast. I thought you said we should hide Donald, avoid mentioning Donald, but now that he's involved, we need to find out about this girl who's saying she's 15 and that she was at Mar-a-Lago. We think that she was 17 years old. Let's take a look at this next one right here. Subject, alert. What does Jeffrey Epstein think of going to Mar-a-Lago after Christmas instead of his island? And it is sent on September 28th, 2012. And it is a message that says, Jeffrey Epstein, what do you think of going to Mar-a-Lago? It says, what does Jeffrey Epstein think of going to Mar-a-Lago after Christmas instead of his island? That's notable because Donald Trump and Epstein claim that they broke off their relationship sometime around 2004, 2007-ish, but they were obviously still in communication in 2012. And then there was this very devastating document that was produced. In an interview with FBI agents, a survivor told the agents that Ghislaine Maxwell presented her to Donald Trump, making clear she was available. And again, this isn't a tip. What I'm about to read for you is what's called an FBI 302, an interview with agents. So it says redacted, because that's the name of the survivor, never dated Donald Trump. Maxwell took, the name is redacted, to a party in New York. And it goes on to say Maxwell seemed very excited that there would be a lot of great men for redacted to meet. Redacted felt that Maxwell presented her and gave a rundown of blank accolades similar to a CV. Maxwell presented redacted to Trump, and they had a conversation for approximately 20 minutes. Redacted was invited to Mar-a-Lago, where she was given a tour by Trump with Epstein and Maxwell present. Nothing happened between Redacted and Trump. By the things that Maxwell said, it was made clear that Redacted was available. Maxwell said things like, "Oh, I think he likes you. Aren't you lucky? This is great." There was an article that came out with Redacted and Trump. Redacted thought she was around 22 years old. Redacted was given suggestions on things to wear. Maxwell said things like, "Oh, he'll like that. He doesn't like that." It was set up very much like how Maxwell introduced Redacted to Epstein. Maxwell introduced Redacted to, and there's more redactions. There was definitely a pretext that this guy was for so-and-so. Redacted and Redacted are friends. They dated much later. Redacted described, again, more redactions, as a good guy. Redacted told so-and-so that someone from the government had reached out to him. Maxwell introduced so-and-so to, there was definitely a pretext that this guy was for. Then it goes on to say, Maxwell introduced another man, and it goes on to describe additional things. And it said, redacted has fear around Maxwell, describes Maxwell as an extremely dangerous person, felt the behavior she had witnessed that Maxwell is a sociopath and she's sociopathic, and has fear if Maxwell is not convicted. And that was an FBI report. It's called the 302. Then there was this document right here that was posted by the DOJ. Then the DOJ immediately removed it after the MeidasTouch flagged what was in this document. The new Epstein file, this is what we wrote on the MeidasTouch. Then the DOJ removed it. Then they put it back up. Here's what we wrote. The new Epstein files production features numerous allegations made against Donald Trump and others. Fortunately, we saved the document because when we clicked back on it about 30 minutes after we posted on it, you got this. Page not found. We are sorry, the page you're looking for cannot be found on the Department of Justice website. Then there was a massive pressure campaign against the DOJ because we posted it on our Substack, MeidasPlus.com. Go check out our Substack, by the way. So then once it was on our Substack, the DOJ just posted it anyway because they figured MeidasTouch already posted it on their Substack. So what could they do? So this is what was in that document. Again, these are allegations made against Donald Trump. And these are not corroborated. They're just allegations. Let me be very clear. That's all they are. We don't know the extent of what's happened. Obviously, this DOJ can't be trusted with anything, even if they say that they reject the allegations. But there are things like this mentioned. Donald Trump, the president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called calendar girls. Jeffrey Epstein would bring the children and Trump would auction them. I mean, it goes on. He measured their vaginas, involved. I mean, it gets absolutely grotesque. You can go to, if you want to read this document, you can go to MeidasPlus.com. I have the whole document. I'll read you a little more from this, but if you want to read the full thing, go to MeidasPlus.com. I know me reading this document can be very triggering. And it says, blank reported that unidentified female friend who was forced to perform oral sex on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told Alexis that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old when this occurred, and the friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing oral sex. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting Trump. The friend said she was also abused by Epstein. And then there's lots of stuff like this in this document. Again, MeidasPlus.com. If you want to read it, let me be very clear. These are not corroborated, but these are complaints that were made and are in the files. And remember what Todd Blanche said. He said that they had reviewed 6 million and they viewed these documents as the relevant ones to produce. So this was produced by the DOJ and then they immediately tried to remove it. I think this is notable as well. Trump's new pick for chairman of the Federal Reserve made an appearance in today's Epstein file release. You see right there, Kevin Warsh. Kevin Warsh is now Trump's pick to be the new chairman of the Federal Reserve, but he's in this email. Kevin Warsh, Raymond McGuire, Ghislaine Maxwell, Brett Ratner, John Pagozzi. So other familiar names appear right there. Let's take a look as well what this email is all about, where Kevin Warsh's name appears and Brett Ratner. Brett Ratner was the director of the Melania movie, and Ghislaine. This was an email, December 21st, 2010, subject St. Barth's. Here is the list I just sent Harvey. I'm not sure if that's Harvey Weinstein. How many people are with you tomorrow? Do you know blank? Steve Cohen next door to me, just met him, and Larry Gogo next to the Isle de France. Keep me posted. Please look this over. I think Roman's boat is bigger than Ron Perlman's. Here is a list of everyone I know that's coming down so far. Please advise where and when to screen. This is the St. Bart's Christmas party of 2010 off the Isle de France or the Hotel Tijuana. And then there are all these names listed like Roman Abramovich, Kevin Warsh, and all those names you see right there. As I mentioned at the outset, Brett Ratner, Ghislaine Maxwell, and others. As I mentioned at the outset, the lawyer for the survivors is saying that the DOJ violated the trust of victims with insufficient redactions on what was already produced. This is a statement from the lawyer of the survivors, Bradley Edwards. Bradley Edwards says the following. The department has been in possession of a comprehensive list of victims of Jeffrey Epstein for months. In that time, they have spoken directly with several terrified women who they promised to protect through a fulsome redaction process. Their complete and utter failure to do so would lead any reasonable person to believe that these violations are no mistake. There are not words to express our disappointment, he added. Essentially, these survivors are saying this was done maliciously by the Trump regime in order to attack and defame and harm and re-traumatize the survivors. So to be clear, the Trump regime has withheld 3 million of the 6 million documents. From the 3 million documents, there have been some pretty devastating documents for Donald Trump, for Howard Lutnick, which I'll talk about in a moment, for Elon Musk, which I'll talk about, also some really bad documents about Bill Gates that I'll share in a moment as well, and others that were in this production. But what was also produced were the names of survivors and victims in a way that re-traumatized them, and that those redactions were not made appropriately right here. Epstein survivor Haley Robson just went on CNN after Todd Blanche held a news conference, and Haley Robson says, "You're not going to gaslight me into thinking that this administration has somehow prioritized survivors," and Haley Robson does not believe that this is the full and the survivors don't believe that this is the full Epstein files that are being produced. And as I mentioned at the outset, it's missing photos, it's missing video, it's missing audio. I think it's missing internal memos, which seem to have been withheld. Other witness reports seem to be withheld. And from what was actually produced, they didn't redact the victims' names appropriately to re-traumatize the victims right here.
It's officially the new year, which means setting wildly unrealistic goals and chasing perfection. But here's one 2025 goal that's actually easy to hit: upgrading your wardrobe with the perfect jean. These jeans are your closet's MVP. Whether you're shedding weight, gaining muscle, or just embracing the body you've got, the perfect jean moves with you every step of the way. Stretchy enough for cutting and bulking season, sharp enough for work or date night, and comfortable enough for everyday wear. This isn't just an ad, it's the first step towards crushing your goals. The perfect jean has saved over 700,000 pairs of nuts and their owners from stiff, unforgiving denim, and that number keeps growing. These jeans are built for 2026. Serious stretch, insanely comfortable, but still refined enough to keep your dress better resolution alive. You can wear them to the gym, after the gym, or instead of the gym. Start 2026 with zero wardrobe stress. The perfect jean offers 6 fits, waists from 26 to 50, and lengths from 26 to 38. Over 5,000 combinations. Bulking, cutting, or just living your best life, these jeans make it effortless to look and feel great all year long. And personally, finding jeans that fit right has always been a nightmare for me. These are ridiculously comfortable, super stretchy, I can actually move in them, and yes, I've gotten compliments, a whole lot of them. For a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order, plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc. Or just Google The Perfect Jean and use code MeidasTouch. That's MEIDAS15. It's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use code MeidasTouch at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with promo code MeidasTouch. After you purchase, they will ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Forget your khakis and get the perfect jean.
Let's take a look right here where Elon Musk's name is mentioned. As I said before, this is an email from December 25th, 2013, and it says, "Just a reminder, Elon Musk was asking about coming to your island on January 2nd. It's from Epstein's assistant, Leslie Groff, to Epstein. And here are emails from Elon to Jeffrey Epstein and Leslie Groff. Elon Musk is talking about, actually, I could fly back early on the 3rd. We'll be in St. Bart's. When should we head to your island on the 2nd? So they're all coordinating going to Epstein's island. And you see right there, Elon Musk doing it also. As Kyle Cheney writes, here's Epstein engaging in some really disgusting text messages with a powerful Slavic leader while discussing relations with Russians and other geopolitical endeavors. They're talking about little girls right here. And it's a guy named Miro Lajic saying, I don't have a girl next to me right now. And then Epstein responds, as you are a diplomat. That says, she'll be back in a minute, or she's across the room, or it's a woman and not a girl, or she just left, or there are two. I'm learning your language. And then Myro goes, no, I really don't have a girl next to me right now. Too many eyes are watching me. I mean, how disgusting is that? Too many eyes are watching. And then Epstein goes, it's okay, I have two. And then Myro says, not fair, to which Epstein responds, but I'm not going to be president. Very funny, very funny. You want me to be president? Here's the email right here where Epstein claimed that Bill Gates caught an STD from Russian girls, then discussed secretly medicating Melinda to cover it. I mean, this is some horrific stuff right here. Epstein sends an email to himself, like a note to file, like a memo of what he wants to say to Bill Gates. This is July 18th, 2013. And then it says, to add insult to the injury, you then subsequently, with tears in your eyes, implored me to please delete the emails regarding your STD. You requested I provide you antibiotics that you can surreptitiously give to Melinda, and the description of your penis. You also made it clear to me that I am not to refer to blank. That is another topic that must remain between the two of us. In return for all of these requests, which I would have done without a second thought. Then he goes on to basically say that he was in a business relationship with Bill, and he thinks that he's now being treated unfairly by Bill Gates. Right there is basically the email, just reading you all the things that we're seeing in this file right now. Then you have this email as well from Jeffrey Epstein. It says, reminder, Elon Musk Christmas, New Year's Eve. More about Elon Musk going to the island. Also, there were tons of emails and text messages between Steve Bannon and Epstein here as well, where they were mocking Donald Trump and talking about Donald Trump, and lots of emails there. Want to share this with you as well. The new files released also appear to show that Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick discussing visiting the Epstein Island in 2012, when Lutnick previously claimed that he cut off ties around 2005 with Epstein after being revolted by him. Remember that interview we shared with you 5 or 6 months ago where Lutnick gave an interview with the New York Post, and he was like, yeah, Epstein was Lutnick's neighbor like 20, 30 years ago. And Lutnick was like, yeah, he was gross. I showed up and he showed me a massage table and I never talked to him again. Well, it seems that they were talking quite frequently right here. Here's an email from Howard Lutnick to Jeffrey Epstein's assistant, Leslie Groff. And here's what they're talking about. Okay, lunch on Sunday. See you then. And then Leslie Groff to Howard Lutnick. Hi, Matthew and Candace. Might you be able to give so-and-so a few more details regarding lunch this Sunday? Do you know if it will just be Howard and his wife? Any kids coming along? Will they arrive at Jeffrey Epstein's island via their boat? And around what time is good for them? If you could pass along when you know, that would be great. So-and-so are copied here. This is December 21st, 2012. So when we have video of Howard Lutnick saying, oh, I never talked to Epstein after I visited his house that one time. They were talking about going to the island together, and we have that email right now for you all to see. Also, we'll share this with you right here. This is from David Ratner to Jeffrey Epstein regarding Howard Lutnick. This is November 14th, 2017. Hi, Jeffrey. Many thanks for your incredible donation in honor of Howard Lutnick. Would you like to take and add and offer your own words of congratulations in our commemorative journal? Are you able to join us at the event itself on December 11th? And would you like to take a table inclusive of your generosity? Thank you. And Epstein was giving a $50,000 donation for an event that Howard Lutnick was being honored at. And also Howard Lutnick invited Jeffrey Epstein to lots of different events. And we have all of the emails of that as well right here. Now, as part of the cover up right here, Todd Blanche held a press conference earlier today where he told reporters that there are no names in the Epstein files. He says there's no list or names. I just shared with you what was in it already. There are 3 million documents that are still missing. But here's what Todd Blanche had to say. Play this clip.
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them, right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women. If we learn about information and evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But I don't think that the public or you all are going to uncover men within the Epstein files that abuse women, unfortunately.
And here's what Todd Blanche responded when he was asked if he was in any way coordinating with the White House the release of documents today. Play this clip.
On Epstein, sir, if I may just ask one on that, please. You mentioned a letter to Congress. How and to whom did you notify the White House about the production that you're announcing today before you came out and spoke to us?
How did I do what?
Notify the White House. What was your interface with the White House? You said there's a letter to Congress. Who did you update at the White House about this? Well,
I don't know. I don't really understand the question. You mean who did I update?
Did you provide them an explanation of what today's release would be?
Look, my team has certain communications with the White House. Let me just be clear. They had nothing to do with this review. They had no oversight over this review. They did not tell this department how to do our review, what to look for, what to redact, what to not redact. They absolutely knew that I was doing this press conference today and that we were releasing the materials today. But there's no oversight by the White House into the process that we've undertaken over the past 60 days.
And here's where Lutnick says that the number of responsive documents was only 3 million and not 6 million. Let's play this clip.
He erred on the side of over-collection of materials from various sources to best ensure maximum transparency and compliance, which necessarily means that the number of responsive pages is significantly smaller than the total number of pages initially collected. That's why I mentioned a moment ago, we're releasing more than 3 million pages today and not the 6 million pages that we collected.
And then a reporter asked Lutnick if he can assure the American people that Trump, like every other prominent person whose name came up in the files, did not receive any special treatment. Let's play this clip right here.
Very quickly, can you assure the American public that President Trump, like every other prominent person whose name came up in relation to the Epstein files, that all documents, photos, and anything relevant to him connected to the case are being released?
I mean, yes, I can assure that we complied with the statute, we complied with the act, and there is no, we did not protect President Trump. We didn't protect or not protect anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents. And there's nothing I can do about that. But President Trump, of all the people in Washington, D.C. and around this country that have said for years the same consistent message about Jeffrey Epstein as President Trump. And so there's not been a change of course or anything. And certainly his direction to the American people and his direction to the Department of Justice was to be as transparent, release the files, be as transparent as we can. And that's exactly what we did.
Now I want to remind you about Howard Lutnick's interview with the New York Post reporter Miranda Devine on Epstein, where he said, "This guy's gross." Play this clip.
I mean, that's an incredible story that you could pick up that he was a pervert.
It's gross. The guy's gross. Right with my wife. He's gross. The guy's gross. This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
So what happened to those videos? Why is there now such a dearth of information when, Donald Trump's people are running the FBI and the DOJ?
I assume way back when, they traded those videos in exchange for him getting that 18-month sentence, which allowed him to have visits and be out of jail. I mean, he's a serial sex offender. How could he get 18 months and be able to go to his office during the day and have visitors and stuff? It must have been a trade. So my assumption, I have no knowledge, but my assumption is there was a trade for the videos because there were people on those videos.
And have you talked to Donald Trump about this and shared your theory?
No, I mean, he knows the story.
Right.
But my story, that, I was one and done with the guy. He knows that story, but that's it.
And here's what he said about being invited over to his then neighbor's Epstein house, which he said he never hung out with Epstein ever again. And of course, we now know he's lying based on these emails. Here, let's play this clip right here.
He was your neighbor for 10 years. How well did you know him?
All right. So we are in number 11 and he lives in number 9.
Right.
So we buy our house, and our house is pigeons and mice.
Right.
Okay. That's it. It was derelict.
Right.
So we rebuild our house. We move in 2005. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein is arrested in like 2008, I think, or something like that.
Right.
So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. So my wife and I go next door. We walk the 7 steps,
yes,
right, to the next house for coffee. We share a wall.
Right.
Right. So it's in New York City. So he invites us in. We have coffee in this, and he says, do you want a tour? We said, great.
Interesting.
He's got a really big house.
Every room you went into?
He's got, well, I'll tell you. So his house is like super big, really wide. And, so he gives me a tour in the living room, big living room. And then across from it is double doors. I assume it's the dining room.
Yeah.
And he opens the doors and there's a massage table in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage.
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Really?
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
And then finally, you have Epstein with a smiling emoji asks former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak to clarify that he does not work for the Mossad in a meeting with a senior Qatari investment official, and then does a smiling emoji. Can you please tell them that I'm not Mossad? Very suspicious indeed. Oh, also, there appears to be a survivor who was very critical, or someone was very, very critical of the DOJ. Not sure if it was a survivor. Someone who's very critical of how the DOJ has been handling things, and sent our reporting at the MeidasTouch to the DOJ to criticize the DOJ about all of the stuff that they were hiding. There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. That's the full summary of what went down from those 3 million files.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.meidastouch.com. All 100% USA union made.